So if you really want freedom, you want to smell the volcano of freedom, move to El Salvador, do, what Ayn Rand suggested. If you're not treated well in your country, leave. Get the fuck out. Go to a real country like El Salvador with a real leader, with real people and real entrepreneurialism. Fuck the U.S. They're not giving you what you want. You don't get freedom of speech. You don't get freedom of expression. You don't get freedom or any kind of freedom. Move with your feet. The voting not going to get you nothing. Walk out. You don't change Bitcoin. Bitcoin changes you, Donald. So, you've got to come to the Bitcoin side. You've got to get in line. You've got to bend the knee, which you probably are not going to be able to do. You certainly won't hear much out of one ear. Too soon? Well, it's a rough world, okay? Bitcoin fixes this. It demonetizes violence.
Renowned financial and crypto journalist Max Keiser was recently interviewed by Natalie Brunell about El Salvador's acceptance of Bitcoin as legal tender during the recent Bitcoin conference. In the interview, Keiser discussed the transformative changes in El Salvador, the global implications of Bitcoin adoption, and responded to remarks made by Donald Trump at the 2024 Bitcoin conference. Keiser highlighted how President Bukele of El Salvador is gaining worldwide recognition due to the country's legalization of Bitcoin, describing El Salvador as a shining city on a hill and a beacon of freedom. Keiser criticized Trump for his negative comments about President Nayib Bukele, a prominent Bitcoin supporter and the first government leader to declare Bitcoin as legal tender. Trump, speaking at the GOP convention, had dismissed Bukele as unworthy of U.S. attention and accused him of offloading criminals to the U.S. This criticism surprised many Bitcoin supporters, including Keiser, who had hoped that Trump's newfound support for Bitcoin would foster a connection between them. For more insights, watch clips from Keiser's interview with Natalie Brunell.
Stop. You don't have time. Don't miss out this 2025 bull run. Educate yourself first ahead of the crowd. We have created the ultimate step-by-step crypto cheat guide that will guide you this bull run. Unlock the secrets of crypto and make smarter investments today. Now by clicking on the link below to get your exclusive copy just under $10.
President Bukele gave a speech. Donald Trump gave a speech. And who was everyone talking about? President Bukele. So Donald Trump, got a little jealous. And he's like, I got to, talk this guy down. But President Bukele is the most popular leader in the world right now. Bitcoin is legal in El Salvador, and it is the new shining city on a hill. El Salvador is the first country out of the turning. Right? El Salvador is a beacon of freedom. El Salvador is already put Bitcoin on their reserve. All these politicians are up here saying, we're going to put it on our reserve. Well, guess what, folks? They're lying, because they're held in the pockets of the central bankers and Jamie Dimon, and all these folks are not going to let them do that. So if you really want freedom, you want to smell the volcano of freedom, move to El Salvador, do, what Ayn Rand suggested. If you're not treated well in your country, leave. Get the out. Go to a real country like El Salvador with a real leader, with real people and real entrepreneurialism. The U.S. They're not giving you what you want. You don't get freedom of speech. You don't get freedom of expression. You don't get freedom or any kind of freedom. Move with your feet. The voting not going to get you nothing. Walk out.
Why is what President Trump said wrong?
Because he suggested that the president and El Salvador were dumping criminals over the border into the U.S. Not only is that materially and factually wrong, but it's highly offensive, because the MS-13 gang was birthed in Los Angeles, and then the Clintons dumped them in El Salvador, and they went on to kill tens of thousands of Salvadorans. So, that is highly offensive to suggest that the opposite is true. Okay, so that's why I got my dander up, because it's not just being cute. He's just not trying to be a rival at the sorority cotillion, like, he's got a better dress than I do and being a bitch. He's making factual errors. He's saying the wrong thing, and he's insulting tens of thousands and millions of Salvadorans. And the Salvadorans made Bitcoin legal tender. Salvadorans are the beacon of free speech. The Statue of Liberty is now a volcano in El Salvador. So, get in line, pal. And let me tell you something. You don't change Bitcoin. Bitcoin changes you, Donald. So, you've got to come to the Bitcoin side. You've got to get in line. You've got to bend the knee, which you probably are not going to be able to do. You certainly won't hear much out of one ear. Too soon? Well, it's a rough world, okay? Bitcoin fixes this. It demonetizes violence.
Do you have a little love you want to show for Trump?
I do. I have a special flower for Donald Trump. When I see him, I'd like to present this flower and express my love and gratitude for at least raising the political game in America to a new standard of forthrightness and truthfulness And I'm a big Trump supporter, and I am voting for Trump for a third time coming up in this next election. But, you know, Trump is from New York, I'm from New York, and so we speak like New Yorkers. So, you know, this is how we do it in New York, and that's the way it is.
Max Keiser hails El Salvador as a beacon of freedom for legalizing Bitcoin and urges President Trump to support the cryptocurrency. He sees Bitcoin as essential for nations to thrive in the evolving global landscape, comparing its adoption to a global hash war among countries competing for dominance. Keiser believes Bitcoin could eventually replace traditional nation-states and central banks with decentralized governance. He uses El Salvador's Bitcoin strategy under President Bukele as a model and describes Bitcoin as a magic mirror reflecting individuals' true nature. Keiser emphasizes the need for genuine engagement with Bitcoin and plans to launch a Bitcoin bank for borrowing against crypto holdings. Let's return to the interview and watch more clips for insights from Max Keiser.
The analogy that I like is Bitcoin as gunpowder. So if one country adopts gunpowder, then you really have to adopt gunpowder as well to get into this paradigm of mutual assured destruction or survival. And now we're entering into the global hash war or the global Bitcoin war, which I wrote about 5 years ago, when everyone was saying that, oh, all these countries are going to ban Bitcoin. I said, no, in fact, it's the opposite. They're all going to embrace Bitcoin. They're going to competitively mine Bitcoin and hoard Bitcoin because it becomes a new global Bitcoin standard. And we'll see every fiat money go to its long-term value of zero. It's demonetizing gold. You see that in the ETF market. People are dumping gold ETFs and buying Bitcoin ETFs. It's demonetizing the stock market. It's demonetizing the bond market. It's demonetizing the property market. It's demonetizing the fine art market. Everything goes to zero against Bitcoin. Everything goes to zero against Bitcoin. So anything you hold as an asset, it's the purchasing power relative to Bitcoin is going to go down. And so this is the realization that's creeping into the minds of folks who have been observing Bitcoin for a while. The political class is really interesting to see so many politicians up here talking about Bitcoin. They have the talking points, and they sound good. I don't think they've given it a deep thought yet because it disintermediates politicians. Because not only will the central banks be disintermediated by Bitcoin, but so will the nation state as we know it. So the nation state will dissolve, as well as the central banks. And we'll have a new, and we already see this in El Salvador. President Bukele is already looking to the future of a decentralized governance model that's no longer going along with the 300-year tradition of the central bank model that we were used to. He's decentralizing. People call President Bukele a dictator. No dictator would give his people the ability to own Bitcoin, an unconfiscatable asset that gives you self-sovereignty. That's the opposite of dictator. You know, Bitcoin is a magic mirror, and if you are of good character, it makes you even a better character. If you're a bad character, it makes you a worse character. If you look at somebody like a Craig Wright, the Bitcoin magic mirror revealed that he's a true scumbag. Boo! Right? If you're somebody like a Michael Saylor, the Bitcoin mirror exposed somebody with a high degree of integrity and a passion for education and a deep understanding of Bitcoin. Same thing in the political class. You know, you have a Cynthia Lummis who I think you can say gets it. You know, she's been orange-pilled and she's working hard in politics to make positive things happen. Other people in politics who talk about Bitcoin will find out soon enough whether or not they're just being narcissistic, self-serving assholes or whether they are genuinely hardcore Bitcoiner maximalists. You know, nobody escapes the guillotine. You know, Bitcoin is the new guillotine of the 21st century. All the toffs who are posing and not really worthy of the power that they get, you know, you're gone. Goodbye. Have a nice day. You're going to be disintermediated, and you're going to zero. Come on down to El Salvador. You're welcome anytime, Donald Trump, and look and observe how Bitcoin country operates and works. It'll be an inspiration. I know Don Jr. has been to El Salvador, and he's buying property in El Salvador. He's had great meetings with the president. And Gates has been to El Salvador. Matt Gates, you know, he's buying property. All the smart money is going to El Salvador. All the smart politicians are going. So it's only a matter of time before the orange pill drops and the Donald makes his way to San Salvador. Come on down and visit for a week or two and get to know the country. And I think, you know, you'll be pleasantly surprised. And a lot of people who visit end up living there, and the opportunities are fantastic. We're opening up a Bitcoin bank soon. So you'll be able to borrow against your Bitcoin, buy some property, and you've got both the rise in the property price plus your Bitcoin at the same time, plus you've got a brilliant place to live, plus building is about $150 per square foot, which is about 90% cheaper than you find anywhere else. So you've got the bang for the bang for the bang for your Bitcoin. So it's really the opportunity of a lifetime.
Meanwhile, recent movements in Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs reflect shifting investor sentiment and market dynamics. U.S.-listed spot Bitcoin exchange-traded funds experienced $18 million in net outflows on Tuesday, ending a 4-day inflow streak that saw $124 million enter these funds. This shift came after Bitcoin prices, which had surged to over $69,000 last week amid anticipation of Donald Trump's speech at the Bitcoin 2024 conference, retreated. Trump's speech, which included plans to fire SEC Chair Gary Gensler and propose a strategic Bitcoin reserve, initially boosted prices but was followed by a 5% drop on Monday due to the U.S. Marshals Service transferring $2 billion worth of Bitcoin to new wallets, raising concerns about potential liquidation. Conversely, Ethereum ETFs saw a modest rebound with $33 million in net inflows, marking only the second such increase since their inception on July 23. Despite this, Ethereum ETFs have faced substantial cumulative net outflows exceeding $400 million. Grayscale's ETH has incurred significant losses totaling $1.84 billion, while BlackRock's ETH stands out with $618 million in inflows. Looking ahead, traders are cautious, anticipating volatility in Bitcoin's market tied to upcoming U.S. tech earnings and other macroeconomic events. QCP Capital highlighted that key events, including the FOMC meeting, major tech earnings from companies like Apple, Amazon, and Meta, and unemployment data, will likely influence Bitcoin's price movements. The firm advises maintaining a range trading outlook for Bitcoin amid these uncertainties. Could the United States follow in the footsteps of El Salvador? What would be the implications of global Bitcoin adoption in your opinion? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.